Dr. Emily Turner, a surgeon recovering from a divorce, moves to a remote inherited mansion for a fresh start. However, she soon uncovers dark family secrets and faces eerie occurrences, forcing her to confront her past and the true cost of her inheritance. Dr. Emily Turner had always believed that life was a series of calculated risks. As a top surgeon, she thrived on precision and control. But the day her life imploded, control slipped through her fingers like grains of sand. The first blow came with the discovery of her husband's affair. James, with his impeccable suits and charming smile, had betrayed her with a ruthlessness that left her breathless. The second blow was the divorce that followed, swift and brutal, stripping her of her status, her home, and her sense of stability. Emily stood in the grand foyer of their once shared home, now an echoing monument to a life that no longer existed. Her hands trembled as she held the divorce decree, its legal jargon finalizing the end of her marriage and, with it, her career at the prestigious hospital where James's influence had once been her shield. The board's decision to let her go had been unanimous, citing the scandal as a distraction. In one fell swoop, she lost everything she had worked for. "Mom, are you okay?" a small voice asked from behind her. Emily turned to see her 8-year-old daughter, Lily, peering up at her with wide, worried eyes. Her heart clenched. If there was one thing she had left, it was Lily, and she would move heaven and earth to protect her. "We're going to be fine, sweetheart," Emily lied, forcing a smile. She knelt down, pulling Lily into a tight embrace. The smell of Lily's strawberry shampoo was comforting, a reminder of the simple things that still made sense. Emily packed the last of her belongings into cardboard boxes, her hands shaking with a mix of anger and despair. Lily, her 8-year-old daughter, watched silently from the staircase, clutching a worn teddy bear to her chest. Her wide, innocent eyes mirrored the confusion and hurt that Emily felt but couldn't voice. "Mommy, why are we leaving?" Lily's voice was a soft plea for understanding. Emily took a deep breath and forced a smile, trying to steady her voice. "We're going to start a new adventure, sweetheart. Just you and me." The words felt hollow, but she needed to be strong for Lily. The once opulent home was now stripped of its warmth and personality, reduced to a series of empty rooms and echoing hallways. The finality of closing the front door behind her was almost too much to bear. Emily loaded the boxes into her aging SUV, each item a piece of the life she was leaving behind. As she drove away from the city that had been her home, Emily's mind raced with uncertainty. The winding roads and endless fields blurred together as she grappled with the enormity of her situation. She had received word of an unexpected inheritance from a distant relative, a glimmer of hope in an otherwise bleak landscape. It was in a remote town, far removed from the chaos of her old life. Maybe there, she and Lily could find some semblance of peace. Hours later, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Emily pulled into the driveway of a modest house in a quaint, sleepy town. It was a far cry from the grandeur of their former home, but it was a start. She looked back at Lily, who had fallen asleep in her car seat, her small face relaxed in slumber. Emily's heart ached with love and determination. This move was for her, for their future. The house, though modest, felt like a haven from the storm that had engulfed their lives. Emily carried Lily inside and laid her gently on a makeshift bed, brushing a kiss on her forehead. She unpacked in silence, each item a piece of their resilience and the new life they were determined to build. As she settled into the unfamiliar surroundings, Emily allowed herself a moment to grieve. The tears came, hot and unrelenting, as she mourned the life she had lost. But as the night wore on, her sorrow gave way to resolve. She was more than James's discarded wife, more than the surgeon who had lost her position. She was a mother, a fighter, and she would rise from these ashes. Emily stood by the window, looking out at the quiet street bathed in moonlight. She vowed to rebuild their lives, piece by piece, in this new place. It wouldn't be easy, but nothing worth fighting for ever was. She had Lily, and she had hope. For now, that was enough. Dr. Emily Turner stood in her modest kitchen, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound in the quiet house. She stared at the letter in her hand, unable to believe what she was reading. It was a legal notice informing her of an inheritance from a distant relative she barely remembered. The letter offered a lifeline, a chance to escape the chaos that had consumed her life. Emily reread the letter, her heart pounding with a mix of hope and disbelief. The inheritance was a house in a remote rural town, a place called Blackwood. It was an old family estate, left to her by a great-aunt she had met only once as a child. The timing was uncanny, almost too good to be true. But Emily was desperate for a change, and this seemed like a sign, a door opening just when she needed it most. "Lily, come here for a minute," she called, trying to keep her voice steady. Her daughter appeared moments later, her eyes still sleepy from her nap. "What's up, Mom?" Lily asked, her teddy bear dangling from one hand. Emily smiled, trying to infuse her words with excitement. "How would you like to go on an adventure? We've inherited a house from a relative, and it's in a new town. We could start fresh there." Lily's eyes widened. "Really? Like a new home?" Emily nodded. "Yes, a new home. It might be a bit different from what we're used to, but it could be fun. What do you think?" Lily's face lit up with a smile. "I think it sounds great." Emily's heart swelled with relief. If Lily could embrace this change with enthusiasm, so could she. The decision was made. They would move to Blackwood and see what this new beginning had in store for them. The next few days were a whirlwind of packing and preparations. Emily sold or donated most of their belongings, keeping only what they truly needed. The process was cathartic, a way to shed the weight of their old life and make room for the new. On the day of their departure, Emily loaded their remaining possessions into the SUV, double-checking that they had everything they needed. The car was packed to the brim, but it felt good to be moving forward. "Ready to go, kiddo?" Emily asked as Lily climbed into the back seat. "Ready," Lily said with a grin. Emily started the engine and pulled out of the driveway, leaving behind the remnants of their past. The city quickly gave way to open highways, and soon they were surrounded by rolling hills and dense forests. The drive was long, but the landscape was beautiful, offering a welcome distraction from the worries that had plagued Emily's mind. As they neared Blackwood, the scenery became even more picturesque, with quaint farms and charming cottages dotting the countryside. It was a far cry from the bustling city they had left behind, and Emily felt a sense of peace settling over her. Finally, they arrived at the address listed in the letter. The house stood at the end of a long, tree-lined driveway, partially hidden by overgrown bushes and ivy. It was a grand old mansion, its architecture a testament to another era. Though it was clear the house had seen better days, there was a certain charm to it, a promise of potential. Emily parked the car and took a deep breath. "We're here," she said, turning to smile at Lily. "Wow," Lily breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. "It's like a castle." Emily laughed, feeling a flicker of hope. "It does look a bit like a castle, doesn't it? Let's go check it out." They got out of the car and approached the front door. Emily fumbled with the old-fashioned key, finally managing to unlock the heavy wooden door. It creaked open, revealing a dimly lit foyer filled with dust and cobwebs. "Hello?" Emily called out, her voice echoing through the empty halls. No response. The house was silent, except for the distant sound of birds chirping outside. Emily and Lily stepped inside, their footsteps muffled by the thick layer of dust on the floor. The air was musty, but there was something intriguing about the place, as if it were waiting for them to uncover its secrets. Exploring the house was like stepping back in time. The furniture was covered in sheets, and old portraits lined the walls. Each room held remnants of the past, hinting at the lives that had been lived there. Emily could feel the history of the place, a tapestry of stories woven into the very fabric of the house. As they moved from room to room, Emily felt a growing sense of excitement. This house, with all its quirks and mysteries, was a blank slate. It was a place where she and Lily could start over, free from the shadows of their old life. That night, they made do with sleeping bags and a simple dinner of sandwiches. Emily lay awake for hours, her mind racing with plans for their future. The house needed a lot of work, but she was determined to make it their home. Emily looked over at Lily, who was already fast asleep, a small smile on her face. She knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she also knew that they had each other. And in this old house in Blackwood, they had a chance to build something new, something beautiful. The morning light streamed through the dusty windows, casting long shadows across the ancient wooden floors. Emily awoke to the unfamiliar creaks and groans of the old mansion settling, a far cry from the sterile quiet of their former life. Lily was still asleep, her small body curled up under a thin blanket. Emily carefully extricated herself from her sleeping bag and stretched, feeling the stiffness in her back from the hard floor. Determined to make the best of their new situation, Emily decided to explore the mansion in daylight. She brewed a pot of coffee on a small camping stove she'd brought along, savoring the warmth of the mug in her hands as she surveyed their new home. The grandeur of the mansion was undeniable, even beneath the layers of dust and neglect. High ceilings with intricate moldings, hardwood floors, and tall windows spoke of a bygone era of elegance and opulence. After a quick breakfast, Emily gently woke Lily. "Ready for a tour?" she asked, trying to infuse her voice with enthusiasm. Lily nodded sleepily, rubbing her eyes. "Okay, Mom. Let's go." They started on the first floor, moving from room to room, taking in the grandeur and the decay. The living room boasted a massive fireplace with an ornate mantel, above which hung a faded portrait of a stern-looking woman. Dust-covered furniture was draped in white sheets, like ghosts waiting to be unveiled. The kitchen, though outdated, had a certain charm with its vintage appliances and large farmhouse sink. As they continued their exploration, Emily began to notice strange, unsettling details. In one of the hallways, the wallpaper was torn, revealing cryptic symbols etched into the plaster beneath. The basement door, heavy and reinforced, was locked with an old, rusted padlock. When they peered through the keyhole, Emily could have sworn she heard faint, unidentifiable noises from below. "Mom, what's that?" Lily asked, pointing to a door at the end of a narrow corridor. Emily frowned. She hadn't noticed it before. The door was slightly ajar, and a cold draft emanated from the darkness beyond. "I'm not sure. Let's take a look." They approached cautiously, Emily's heart pounding in her chest. She pushed the door open, revealing a narrow staircase leading up to the attic. The air grew colder with each step, and the dim light from the single bulb at the top did little to dispel the shadows. The attic was a treasure trove of forgotten memories. Boxes and trunks filled with old photographs, clothes, and letters were scattered about. A large, antique mirror stood in one corner, its glass clouded with age. As Emily sorted through the items, she found a leather-bound journal with brittle, yellowed pages. Curiosity piqued, Emily sat down and began to read. The journal belonged to her great-aunt, Margaret Blackwood, the same relative who had left her the mansion. The entries detailed a life filled with intrigue and sorrow. Margaret wrote about the mansion's history, mentioning strange occurrences and an ominous family curse that had plagued the Blackwoods for generations. One entry, dated October 13, 1924, caught Emily's eye. "Tonight, the air is thick with whispers. The shadows dance more vividly than usual. I fear the curse is awakening once more. The house has secrets it wishes to keep, and I am but a temporary guardian. The basement holds the key, but the cost of uncovering it may be too great." A chill ran down Emily's spine. She glanced around the attic, suddenly feeling watched. It was as if the house itself was alive, listening to her every move. "Mom, look at this," Lily called from across the attic, breaking Emily's trance. She held up a small, intricately carved wooden box. Emily opened it to find a collection of old keys, each labeled with a different room in the house. One key stood out, it was larger and more ornate than the others, with a tag that read "Basement." Emily's heart raced as she held the key. The journal had mentioned the basement, hinting at secrets that might explain the strange phenomena they were experiencing. She wasn't sure if she was ready to uncover what lay beneath, but she knew she had to try. For Lily's sake, and for her own. They spent the rest of the day cleaning and organizing, trying to bring some semblance of order to the chaos. As night fell, the house seemed to come alive with eerie sounds and shadows that played tricks on the eyes. Emily tucked Lily into bed, reassuring her that everything was fine, though she could feel the house's silent protest against their presence. Unable to sleep, Emily sat by the window, the key to the basement clutched tightly in her hand. The journal's words echoed in her mind, filling her with a mixture of dread and determination. She knew that the mansion held many secrets, and that unlocking them would be the key to understanding her family's past and securing their future. The early morning sun filtered through the heavy curtains, casting a warm glow across the room. Emily stretched, feeling the weight of yesterday's discoveries still pressing on her mind. Today, she decided, she would explore the land around the mansion and venture into the nearby town to get a sense of their new community. After breakfast, Emily and Lily stepped outside to take in their surroundings. The mansion stood on a sprawling estate, the grounds overgrown with wildflowers and tangled vines. An old stone path, barely visible beneath the encroaching vegetation, led away from the house. "Let's see where this path takes us," Emily suggested, taking Lily's hand. As they walked, the path wound through a dense grove of ancient oak trees, their gnarled branches twisting together to form a natural archway. The air was crisp and filled with the scent of pine. Emily felt a sense of calm wash over her, a stark contrast to the unease she had felt inside the house. They emerged from the grove to find a small, neglected cemetery. Weathered headstones, some toppled and others barely legible, marked the resting places of long-dead relatives. Emily paused in front of a large, ornate tombstone bearing the name Blackwood. It was a stark reminder of the family legacy she had inherited. "What is this place, Mom?" Lily asked, her voice tinged with curiosity. "It's a cemetery, sweetheart. Our ancestors are buried here," Emily explained, though the sight of the graves filled her with a sense of foreboding. Leaving the cemetery behind, they continued along the path until they reached the edge of a sparkling lake. The water was clear and still, reflecting the blue sky and surrounding trees. A small, rickety dock jutted out into the lake, and Emily could imagine lazy afternoons spent fishing or swimming here. "Can we go swimming, Mom?" Lily asked, her eyes lighting up with excitement. "Maybe later, when it's warmer," Emily replied with a smile. She was glad to see Lily's enthusiasm. It made the daunting task of settling into their new life seem more manageable. As the morning wore on, Emily decided it was time to head into town. She hoped to gather some supplies and perhaps learn more about the history of the mansion from the locals. The town of Blackwood was small and picturesque, with quaint shops lining the main street and friendly faces greeting them as they walked by. Emily's first stop was the general store, a charming establishment filled with everything from fresh produce to hardware supplies. The bell above the door jingled as they entered, and an older woman behind the counter looked up with a welcoming smile. "Hello there. You must be the new folks up at the Blackwood place," she said, her eyes twinkling with curiosity. "That's right," Emily replied, returning the smile. "I'm Emily Turner, and this is my daughter, Lily. Nice to meet you both." "I'm Martha," the woman said, extending her hand. "What can I do for you today?" Emily explained that they were looking for basic supplies and asked if Martha knew anything about the mansion's history. Martha's expression grew serious as she leaned in closer. "The Blackwood place has a long and troubled past," she said quietly. "Folks around here say it's cursed. There have been strange occurrences and unexplained tragedies for generations." Emily felt a chill run down her spine. "What kind of strange occurrences?" "Disappearing items, eerie noises, people seeing things that aren't there," Martha listed, her voice barely above a whisper. "And the land itself has its own mysteries. There are stories about hidden treasures and secret passages, but no one's ever found anything concrete." Intrigued but slightly unnerved, Emily thanked Martha for the information and paid for their supplies. As they left the store, she couldn't shake the feeling that the mansion and its grounds held secrets that were waiting to be uncovered. Back at the mansion, Emily decided to tackle the issue of the basement. She spent hours searching for any sign of an entrance, but the house seemed determined to keep its secrets hidden. Frustrated but unwilling to give up, she made a mental note to revisit the search later. For now, there was plenty of work to be done to make the mansion livable. The next few days were filled with cleaning, organizing, and minor repairs. Emily and Lily worked side by side, turning the old house into a home. Despite the hard work, Emily found herself growing more attached to the mansion. It was as if the house, with all its quirks and mysteries, was becoming a part of their family. One afternoon, while taking a break on the front porch, Emily noticed a group of townspeople approaching. At the forefront was a tall man with a weathered face and kind eyes. He introduced himself as Tom, the town's unofficial historian and a wealth of knowledge about Blackwood's past. "We heard you were interested in the history of the place," Tom said, his voice warm and friendly. "I thought I'd come by and share what I know." Emily invited him in, grateful for the chance to learn more. Tom regaled them with tales of the mansion's former inhabitants, the triumphs and tragedies that had shaped their lives. He spoke of the Blackwood family's prominence in the town's early days and the mysterious events that had led to their decline. As the afternoon turned into evening, Emily felt a deeper connection to the mansion and the land it stood on. The house and the town of Blackwood were intertwined, their histories inseparable. She realized that in uncovering the secrets of the mansion, she was also discovering her own place within this community. With each story Tom told, Emily's determination to unravel the mysteries of her inheritance grew stronger. She knew there were still many secrets hidden within the walls of the old mansion and the grounds that surrounded it. And as she looked out at the sprawling estate, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. The days in Blackwood settled into a steady rhythm. Emily and Lily worked tirelessly to transform the mansion into their new home, and slowly, the house began to feel less like a relic of the past and more like a fresh start. However, beneath the surface, a sense of unease lingered, like a storm gathering on the horizon. One crisp afternoon, as Emily was in the garden clearing away dead leaves, she noticed a car pulling up the long, winding driveway. It was sleek and black, a sharp contrast to the rustic surroundings. Her heart skipped a beat when she recognized the driver, James. James stepped out of the car with an air of arrogance, his presence instantly shattering the fragile peace Emily had built. He wore a tailored suit, as if he were attending a board meeting rather than visiting his estranged wife and daughter in a remote town. "Emily," he called out, his voice carrying a mix of condescension and feigned concern. "We need to talk." Emily felt a surge of anger and anxiety. She had hoped to leave this part of her life behind. "What are you doing here, James?" He walked closer, his eyes scanning the property with thinly veiled contempt. "I heard about the inheritance. Quite the windfall, isn't it? Thought I'd come and see what you're up to." "It's none of your business," Emily replied, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "This is our home now, and you have no place here." James smirked, his eyes cold and calculating. "Our daughter lives here, so it is my business. I need to make sure she's in a suitable environment. This place looks like it could fall down at any moment." Emily clenched her fists, struggling to maintain her composure. "Lily is fine, and so am I. You don't need to worry about us." James stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I know there's more to this inheritance than just an old house. I'm not leaving until I get what I'm entitled to." Emily's heart pounded. She realized that James's visit was driven by greed and a desire for revenge. He couldn't stand the thought of her finding any measure of happiness or success without him. "Leave, James," she said firmly. "You've done enough damage." Before James could respond, the front door opened and Lily came running out. "Mom, who's that?" she asked, her eyes wide with curiosity and confusion. Emily crouched down, pulling Lily into a protective embrace. "It's your father, sweetheart. He was just leaving." James's expression softened as he looked at Lily, but Emily could see the manipulation in his eyes. "Hey, pumpkin. I missed you," he said, his tone dripping with insincerity. Lily clung to Emily, sensing the tension. "Why are you here, Daddy?" I came to see you, James said, his smile not reaching his eyes. I wanted to make sure you're okay. We're fine, Emily interjected. Now, please go. James straightened, his mask of concern slipping. This isn't over, Emily. I'll be back. As he got into his car and drove away, Emily held Lily tightly, her mind racing. James's arrival was a stark reminder of the life she was trying to leave behind. She knew he wouldn't give up easily, and the thought of him causing more trouble filled her with dread. The days following James's visit were fraught with tension. Emily tried to focus on their daily tasks, but the unsettling presence of her ex-husband lingered like a dark cloud. She couldn't shake the feeling that he would return, bringing more trouble with him. As she and Lily continued to work on the mansion, strange occurrences began to unfold, adding to her unease. It started with small things. Doors that had been firmly closed were found ajar, lights flickered inexplicably, and cold drafts swept through rooms despite the windows being shut tight. At first, Emily dismissed these as quirks of an old house, but the incidents became harder to ignore. One evening, as she was preparing dinner, Emily heard footsteps overhead. She paused, listening intently. Lily was playing in the living room, and there was no one else in the house. The footsteps grew louder, moving across the ceiling with deliberate steps. Emily's heart raced as she grabbed a flashlight and headed upstairs. Stay here, Lily, she instructed, trying to keep her voice calm. Emily followed the sound to the attic. She pushed open the creaky door and shone the flashlight into the dim space. The beam of light revealed nothing but dusty boxes and forgotten furniture. The footsteps had stopped, leaving an eerie silence in their wake. Emily's breath came in shallow gasps as she cautiously explored the attic, but there was no sign of anyone, or anything. As she turned to leave, something caught her eye. A small, weathered diary lay on top of an old trunk, just like the one she had found the other day. She picked it up, the leather cover cool and brittle to the touch. Inside, the faded handwriting told the story of her great-aunt Margaret's life, filled with accounts of strange events and ghostly apparitions. This second journal detailed even more sinister occurrences and ominous warnings. One entry in particular sent chills down Emily's spine. June 14, 1925, the house is restless again. Shadows move of their own accord, and whispers fill the halls at night. I fear the spirits of our ancestors are trying to tell me something. The basement holds the key, but I dare not venture there alone. Emily closed the diary, her hands trembling. The references to the basement and the restless spirits made her uneasy. She decided to leave the attic, vowing to return in the daylight to investigate further. That night, Emily struggled to sleep. She was jolted awake by a loud crash. She rushed to Lily's room, only to find her daughter standing in the doorway, eyes wide with fear. Mom, I heard it too, Lily whispered, clutching her teddy bear. Emily hugged her tightly. It's okay, sweetie. It's just an old house. We'll figure it out. Together, they ventured downstairs to find the source of the noise. A large painting had fallen off the wall in the living room, its glass frame shattered across the floor. The painting depicted a somber-looking man in Victorian attire, another ancestor, Emily presumed. As she cleaned up the mess, she noticed something odd. Behind the painting, etched into the wall, were more of the cryptic symbols she had seen before. Emily traced her fingers over them, feeling a strange connection to the past. Over the next few days, the strange occurrences continued. Objects moved on their own, lights flickered without reason, and cold spots appeared in various rooms. Emily felt as though the house was alive, watching and waiting. She began to research the history of the mansion and the Blackwood family, determined to uncover the truth. Her search led her to the town's small library, where she pored over old records and newspaper articles. She discovered a series of tragic events that had befallen the Blackwood family: accidents, mysterious illnesses, and unexplained disappearances. The townspeople had long whispered about a curse, though no one could say for certain what had caused it. One evening, while reading in the study, Emily felt herself growing drowsy. As she drifted off to sleep, her dreams took a haunting turn. She found herself in the grand staircase, the house eerily silent. At the top of the stairs stood a translucent figure, a woman in a flowing dress. Emily's breath caught as she recognized her from an old family portrait. It was Margaret. The ghostly figure raised a hand, pointing towards the basement door, then vanished. Emily awoke with a start, her heart pounding in her chest. She lay in the dark, trying to calm her racing thoughts. The message was clear, the answers she sought were in the basement. But the thought of venturing down there alone filled her with dread. The morning light filtered through the mansion's dusty windows, casting an eerie glow on the pages of Margaret's second diary. Emily sat at the old wooden desk in the study, her fingers tracing the faded ink as she read about her gray tense life. The diary entries painted a vivid picture of the mansion's dark history and the tragedies that had befallen the Blackwood family. July 3, 1925, the house grows more restless with each passing day. Whispers echo through the halls, and I fear I am losing my mind. The basement holds the key, but it also holds the curse that has plagued our family for generations. I must find the courage to face it. Emily shivered, feeling a connection to Margaret's fear and determination. The diary spoke of strange occurrences, unexplained illnesses, and the untimely deaths of several family members. It seemed the mansion had always been a place of sorrow and mystery, with the basement at the center of it all. August 15, 1925, I have discovered that the basement may hold a treasure, a legacy left by our ancestors. But every attempt to find the entrance has been thwarted by forces I cannot explain. The townspeople speak of hidden riches, but they also speak of the curse. I fear what lies beneath these floors. Emily's mind raced as she connected Margaret's words with what she had learned from the townspeople. The stories of hidden treasures and secret passages now seemed intertwined with the tragedies that had plagued the Blackwoods. She felt a growing urgency to uncover the truth, both for her own sake and for Lily's. Determined to find the elusive basement, Emily decided to revisit the clues from her dream. The ghostly figure of Margaret pointing towards the basement door had to mean something. She spent hours scouring the house, searching for any sign of the hidden entrance. She knocked on walls, lifted floorboards, and examined every nook and cranny, but the basement remained hidden. That night, Emily struggled to sleep. Her dreams were filled with the same haunting image, Margaret standing at the top of the grand staircase, her ghostly form pointing towards the basement door. Emily awoke with a start, her heart pounding and her breath coming in shallow gasps. She knew the dream was more than just a figment of her imagination, it was a message. The next day, Emily continued her search, driven by a mix of curiosity and dread. She scoured the house for any clue that might lead her to the basement. She examined the walls, the floors, and every piece of furniture, but the entrance eluded her. The house seemed determined to keep its secrets hidden. One afternoon, while Emily was in the library poring over old records and newspaper articles, she came across a faded map of the mansion. The map showed various hidden passages and rooms that she hadn't discovered yet. Her pulse quickened as she traced the lines with her finger, hoping to find the basement entrance. As she compared the map to the layout of the house, Emily noticed a small, unlabeled area beneath the main floor. It was connected to the house by a narrow passage that started near the kitchen. Excited by the discovery, she rushed to the kitchen and began searching for any sign of the passage. Hours passed as she tapped on walls and examined every inch of the room, but the hidden passage remained elusive. Frustrated, Emily sank into a chair, her mind racing with thoughts of the basement and the secrets it held. The clues were all there, but the entrance remained hidden. That night, exhausted from her search, Emily fell into a fitful sleep. Her dreams once again took a haunting turn. She found herself standing at the top of the grand staircase, the house eerily silent. At the bottom of the stairs stood the translucent figure of Margaret, her ghostly form beckoning Emily to follow. Emily descended the stairs, her heart pounding in her chest. Margaret led her through the darkened halls, stopping in front of the basement door. The ghostly figure raised a hand, pointing towards the door, then vanished. Emily awoke with a start, her heart racing and her breath coming in shallow gasps. Determined to uncover the truth, Emily resolved to continue her search. She would gather more information, seek help from the townspeople if necessary, and confront the mysteries of the mansion head-on. For now, the basement door remained hidden, its secrets waiting to be revealed. The days grew colder as autumn settled over Blackwood, casting a somber mood over the mansion. Emily remained determined to uncover the secrets of her ancestral home, but her efforts were increasingly met with obstacles. Unbeknownst to her, James had not left town. Driven by greed and a desire to reclaim control, he sought out local figures who thrived in the shadows. James found his way to a dimly lit bar on the outskirts of town, a place where whispered conversations and dubious deals were commonplace. It was there he met Frank and Carl, two men known for their less-than-legal activities. Over drinks, James laid out his plan, enticing them with the promise of a share in the supposed treasure hidden within the mansion. "We need to make her life miserable," James said, his voice low and conspiratorial. "Convince her that staying in that house isn't worth the trouble." Frank and Carl exchanged glances, then nodded. "We can handle that," Frank replied with a smirk. "Just leave it to us." The next few days were marked by a series of unnerving events. It began with small, inexplicable accidents. The tires on Emily's SUV were slashed, leaving her stranded until a neighbor offered help. Windows that had been firmly shut were found shattered, as if someone had thrown a rock through them. Tools and supplies Emily had carefully organized for the mansion's repairs went missing, only to be found broken and scattered around the property. Emily tried to stay calm, attributing the incidents to the quirks of an old house and bad luck. But the tension was undeniable, and Lily, sensitive to her mother's unease, became increasingly anxious. "Mom, why is all this happening?" Lily asked one evening as they huddled together in the living room, the flickering fireplace their only source of warmth. Emily hugged her daughter tightly. "I don't know, sweetheart. But we'll get through this. I promise." The situation escalated when Emily received a threatening note, crudely scrawled and slipped under the front door. "Leave now, or else," it read. The words sent a chill down her spine. She knew then that someone was deliberately trying to drive them away. Determined not to be intimidated, Emily sought out the town sheriff, a gruff but fair man named Sheriff Matthews. She explained the series of events, her voice steady but laced with concern. "I think someone's trying to scare us into leaving," Emily said, showing him the note. Sheriff Matthews frowned, his eyes narrowing. "I'll look into it. But you need to be careful, Emily. If you notice anything else, anything at all, let me know immediately." Returning home, Emily found solace in the one place that had given her strength, the study. Surrounded by the diaries of her ancestors, she felt a connection to the past that fortified her resolve. She would not let whoever it was to force her out. This mansion, with all its secrets and history, was her home now. The cold winter night was eerily quiet, the silence only broken by the occasional creak of the old mansion settling. Emily tucked Lily into bed, reassuring her with a gentle kiss on the forehead. "Good night, sweetheart." "We'll be okay," she whispered, though her own heart was heavy with worry. As Emily sat in the study, surrounded by the diaries of her ancestors, she felt a deep sense of unease. The incidents had escalated, and she knew that James and his accomplices were becoming more desperate. She decided to keep watch, settling into an armchair with a blanket and a cup of tea. The flickering firelight cast dancing shadows on the walls, a reminder of the mansion's age and its many secrets. Just as Emily was beginning to drift off, a sharp crack broke the silence. She sprang to her feet, her heart racing. The smell of smoke reached her nostrils, and panic surged through her veins. She ran to Lily's room, scooping her up from bed. "Mom, what's happening?" Lily asked, her voice groggy with sleep. "There's a fire. We have to get out, now," Emily replied, her voice urgent. The two of them made their way through the smoke-filled corridors, the heat intensifying with each step. Flames licked at the walls, devouring the old wood and sending embers flying. Emily shielded Lily with her body, pushing forward with sheer determination. Just as they reached the front door, a massive beam fell from the ceiling, blocking their path. Emily looked around frantically, her mind racing for another escape route. The back door, she thought. She turned, clutching Lily tightly, and headed towards the kitchen. The flames were relentless, but Emily's resolve was stronger. She kicked open the back door, stumbling out into the cold night air with Lily in her arms. They collapsed on the lawn, coughing and gasping for breath. "Are you okay, Lily?" Emily asked, checking her daughter for injuries. Lily nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I'm scared, Mom." "I know, sweetheart. But we're safe now," Emily said, hugging her tightly. As they watched the mansion burn, a wave of devastation washed over Emily. The home they had worked so hard to restore was being reduced to ashes. But amidst the heartbreak, a strange sense of determination took hold. She knew that James was behind this, and she wouldn't let him win. In the glow of the fire, something caught Emily's eye. The intense heat had caused part of the floor to collapse, revealing a dark, gaping hole. Her heart pounded with realization, the entrance to the basement. "Lily, stay here," she said firmly, standing up and wiping the soot from her face. "But Mom," Lily started, but Emily cut her off gently. "I need to check something. I'll be right back." Emily approached the edge of the hole, peering into the darkness. She grabbed a flashlight from the kitchen, its beam cutting through the smoke and illuminating a set of stone steps leading down. Taking a deep breath, she descended into the basement, the air growing cooler with each step. The basement was vast, its walls lined with shelves and cabinets filled with dust-covered antiques. Emily's flashlight revealed ornate furniture, intricately carved chests, and paintings that had been carefully preserved. The air was thick with history, each item a piece of the Blackwood legacy. Emily opened a large wooden chest, her breath catching as she uncovered a collection of family heirlooms, jewelry, documents, and artifacts that told the story of her ancestors. The true worth of the inheritance was finally clear. It wasn't just the monetary value of these items, but the rich history and legacy they represented. She felt a mix of awe and sorrow as she explored the basement, knowing that the fire above had irrevocably changed their lives. But amidst the loss, she had found a hidden treasure that could help rebuild their future. Returning to the surface, Emily found Lily waiting anxiously. She hugged her daughter tightly, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. "Mom, what did you find?" Lily asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. "The true worth of our inheritance," Emily replied, a determined glint in her eye. "We've lost the house, but we found something even more valuable. And we're not going to let anyone take it from us." As the flames continued to burn, casting a glow over the devastated mansion, Emily knew that this was not the end. It was a new beginning. She would fight for their legacy, uncover the secrets of their past, and build a future that honored the history of the Blackwood family. The charred remains of the Blackwood mansion stood as a stark reminder of the devastation wrought by the fire. Emily and Lily had relocated to a small rental house in town, but Emily's mind was never far from the ruins and the hidden treasures she had discovered. She knew she had to confront James and put an end to his schemes once and for all. One cold morning, Emily returned to the mansion's remains, determined to retrieve the antiques and heirlooms from the basement. As she approached, she noticed a familiar sleek, black car parked near the entrance. Her heart tightened with dread. James was already there. She moved cautiously through the rubble, the smoky smell still lingering in the air. She found James in the basement, rifling through the chests and cabinets she had discovered. His expression was one of triumph, but it quickly soured when he saw Emily standing at the top of the stairs. "James, what are you doing here?" Emily demanded, her voice steady, despite the anger boiling within her. James smirked, standing up and brushing off his hands. "I could ask you the same thing. But I think we both know the answer. This is our inheritance." "You have no right to be here," Emily said, stepping forward. James's eyes gleamed with malice. "Oh, but I do. You see, I knew about the true value of this place long before you did. I just needed you out of the way to get my hands on it." Emily felt a chill run down her spine. "You knew?" You orchestrated all of this, didn't you? The job loss, the fire? James laughed, a cold, heartless sound. Of course. Getting you fired was easy. A few well-placed lies, and the board was ready to let you go. The fire, though, that was a bit more complicated. But it was worth it to flush you out and find the treasures hidden down here. Emily's hands clenched into fists. You risked our daughter's safety for this? For greed? Don't be so dramatic, Emily. I knew you'd get out in time, James said dismissively. Besides, it's not like you were doing a great job of protecting her anyway. Rage and betrayal surged through Emily. She stepped closer, her voice low and fierce. You will not take this from us, James. You've done enough damage. James sneered. And what are you going to do about it? Call the police? They'll never believe you. Before Emily could respond, the sound of footsteps echoed from the stairs. Sheriff Matthews appeared, his expression grim. Actually, I think they'll believe her just fine. James's face paled as the sheriff approached, flanked by 2 deputies. James Hawkins, you're under arrest for arson and endangerment, Sheriff Matthews said, his voice authoritative and unwavering. James glared at Emily. This isn't over. Yes, it is, Emily replied, her voice resolute. The deputies handcuffed James and led him away, his protests echoing through the ruins. Emily watched them go, a mixture of relief and sorrow washing over her. The man she had once loved had orchestrated her downfall and endangered their daughter, all for the sake of greed. Sheriff Matthews turned to Emily. We got your call and your evidence just in time. Good work. Thank you, Sheriff, Emily said, her voice trembling slightly. I just want to protect my daughter and our future. The sheriff nodded. You've been through a lot, but you're strong. You'll get through this. As the authorities cleared the area, Emily stood alone in the basement, surrounded by the treasures of her ancestors. The confrontation had brought the truth to light, and while it was painful, it was also freeing. She knew now that she had the strength to face whatever came next. With a deep breath, Emily began to gather the antiques and heirlooms, each piece a reminder of her family's legacy and resilience. She would rebuild, not just a home, but a life that honored the history and the struggles of those who came before her. As she emerged from the ruins, the winter sun breaking through the clouds, Emily felt a renewed sense of hope. The mansion might have been destroyed, but the true inheritance, strength, courage, and determination, was something no one could ever take from her and Lily. Winter slowly gave way to spring, the icy grip of the cold season loosening as buds of new life began to emerge. Emily stood in front of the small rental house, watching Lily play in the yard. The past months had been a whirlwind of challenges, but they had come through stronger than ever. With James behind bars, Emily could finally focus on rebuilding their lives. The valuable antiques and heirlooms recovered from the basement provided a financial cushion, but more importantly, they represented a rich family history that Emily was determined to honor. Using a portion of the proceeds from the heirlooms, Emily decided to invest in the community that had welcomed them. She reached out to Tom, the town historian, and proposed the idea of opening a small museum dedicated to the history of Blackwood and the Blackwood family. It would be a place to preserve the legacy of the mansion and educate future generations about the town's past. Tom was enthusiastic about the idea, and together they worked to secure a location and begin curating the exhibits. The project gave Emily a sense of purpose and a way to channel her energy into something positive. She felt connected to the town and its people in a way she never had before. As the museum took shape, Emily and Lily settled into their new life. The rental house, though modest, became a cozy home filled with love and laughter. Emily found a position at the local clinic, where her skills as a surgeon were highly valued. The work was fulfilling, and the slower pace of life in Blackwood allowed her to spend more time with Lily. One evening, after a long day at the clinic and working on the museum, Emily sat on the porch, watching the sunset. Lily joined her, snuggling close. "Mom, do you think we'll ever rebuild the mansion?" Lily asked, her eyes reflecting the colors of the sky. Emily smiled, brushing a strand of hair from Lily's face. Maybe someday, sweetheart. But for now, we have everything we need right here. We've built a new life together, and that's what matters most. Lily nodded, content. I like our new home. And I'm excited about the museum. Me too, Emily said, hugging her daughter tightly. It's a way to remember where we came from and honor the past, while we look forward to the future. As the stars began to twinkle in the evening sky, Emily felt a profound sense of peace. The journey had been difficult, filled with unexpected twists and heartache, but it had also led to growth and new beginnings. The mansion's ruins were a reminder of what they had overcome, and the museum would be a testament to their resilience.